Barakathe Hawa, Barakathe Hawa Shai, Barakathe Hawa, Barakathe Hawa Shai, Call Haloyim Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. I want to begin this lesson to the elect about the economic impact of tariffs and deportation. Basically, that really involve us all the way around. The Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom are really affected by the up-and-coming threats from the POTUS 47 elect come 2025. And he says that right away that he's going to get into it. So without, I'll get a so-called economic expert to explain exactly what's going on. And I'll come back with some precepts with that.
The Economic Update with Tatiana Bailey, sponsored by Colorado First-Time Homebuyer.
President-elect Trump is proposing many changes in his new presidency, but how might they impact our economy?
Right now, Dr. Tatiana Bailey joins us to explain.
I've had many inquiries since the election regarding the tariffs and immigrant deportations proposed by President-elect Trump. I've homed in on two studies I'll share with you. The Peterson Institute, a nonpartisan think tank, examined the impacts of tariffs, deportations, and changes in Federal Reserve autonomy. Tariffs and deportations impose the greatest impacts on prices, employment levels, and economic growth as measured by GDP. The study looked at low and high deportation levels and assumed 60% tariff rates on all Chinese imports and 10% tariffs on all other trade partners, as promised by Trump. Remember, a tariff is a tax or fee that a government charges on imported goods, usually to protect domestic businesses. If businesses have to pay more for an input or finished product that comes from another country, they typically pass that amount onto consumers in the form of higher prices. Economists don't care much for tariffs because history shows us that they have inflationary impacts and therefore reduce consumption overall, which is 2/3 of GDP. According to the Peterson results, inflation would land somewhere between 6 and 9.3% by 2026, as opposed to trend inflation of roughly 2%. By 2034, inflation would settle at about 4%. GDP would decrease between 3 and 10% over a 4-year term. You can go to that study for further details. Another study by Wells Fargo also estimates that inflation would settle at around 4%, albeit more quickly. When I was in graduate school many years ago, we talked about the unfair trade practices of China and the theft of intellectual property. I am not a trade expert, but it would make sense to me that those experts can decipher when trade practices are nefarious, and they can determine how to impose tariffs on foreign goods that hurt U.S. businesses while not hurting U.S. consumers. Presidents can make changes in trade policy without congressional approval, raising the probability of tariffs. We'll know in about a year, but for now, as an economist, I worry about the limits of the resilient U.S. consumer who has already absorbed price levels 20 to 30% higher than early 2020.
Okay, now we got that. Now that we have that out the way, there are a couple of other comments that I'd like to add on to that. Is that it affects the housing market, it affects consumer prices, and also you get retaliation from China and other countries who say, well, you're going to put a tariff on us, then we're going to retaliate by putting a tariff on the United States. So everybody's caught in the crosshairs with this proposal because I guess they just want to fill it out how it's going to affect. But everybody knows that since we are the consumers of the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom, that we all know that it affects us greatly. It affects our pocketbook. It affects our effectiveness to go to work and the jobs that we find and the jobs that we do. Now, in the housing market, everybody knows that you have to employ everybody. So that means the housing market is going to go down, new housing, basically. And, of course, steel production is going to go down. Car manufacturers, the cars that are manufactured in Mexico and other places that come here as an import, it affects everything across the board. So if you're going to put a tariff on a car that comes in from another country, that means less spending power that we will have because it's going to raise the prices up. And I'll put in the description what is a tariff by definition from Adam Online about what this is all about. But before I close this, I'll add on a couple of scriptures to support this particular thing, because the elders, the apostles that saw this many years ago, how this is going to affect us all the way around. And it's basically the setup for Jacob's trouble. I'd like to get into Nahum 3:1, and it says, "Woe to the bloody city! It is all full of lies and robbery. They pray, departeth not." So what that means is that because we are captives in the great Babylon, Babylon the Great, Babylon the Great, that we have this problem. That's part of the things about, it goes back to what happens in Deuteronomy 28, starting at 16th verse, about this is what's going to happen. We're caught in the crosshairs of countries that's basically dwindling our way of life in front of us. So this is going to be this is going to affect all of us. It's going to come to the point where it's that you're going to have to basically take out a mortgage to buy food. It used to be because you can buy a house or a car with a mortgage, but people are going to maybe resort to that because they can't survive and live in this lifestyle of Babylon the Great. Second precept I have is Romans 1:7. To all that be in Rome, beloved of our power, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from our power, our Father Yahweh Yahushai, and our Lord Hamashiach. This is what we need. We need prayer constantly to deal with this matter. I can't see any way out of this. I mean, this is all we got. We don't have currency of our own. We basically got a scattered culture, but we were building in the process. And behind the scenes, things are starting to gear up to the point where it's that for Jacob's trouble. And that's what I had to share for you right now. This is going to be one particular great problem that's going to affect the whole world. But that's what Babylon, Salakia, this is what Babylon the Great does. It exhorts, it exalts their power, this welding power across the world, whereas that everybody follows what Nero the Great is doing. And that I will say shalom to the end of this lesson.